Day 22. Silence. Ladies, it's time to move. With practiced synchronicity, all 15 women at the bi-monthly Barndale speed dating evening, held in the Workers' Club Hall on the high road opposite the Morrisons, stood up from their folding chairs and rotated to the next eligible bachelor. Not at another table, like you see in the films, as the club only had big decorating tables that they used for street parties and the like. No, several sessions ago, Sue, the organiser, had decided they only needed to sit opposite each other on pairs of chairs. A little more exposing, but they need to be vulnerable, she always said. Dasha had jumped up with all the others when Sue rang her little bell. It made her jump generally. She was so on edge, that was the last thing she needed. She sat down with a bald man she recognised vaguely. Did he work at Morrison's? But much like the however many men she had sat with so far, she wasn't really paying attention. Dasha was counting down until she got to Mark. Mark was like her, at least she believed so. Mark checked people's tickets at the cinema, but sometimes he worked the till or sold popcorn. Dasha always liked when he was checking the tickets, though, because it meant she didn't have to spend so much on pick and mix to have a reason to talk to him. She had first noticed him when he complimented her on going to see Far Side Moon, an adaptation of the vampire novels she loved so much. He said it was surprisingly close to the source material, and that, for fans of the series, like them, it was finally something to be proud of. He wasn't wrong. Ever since then, she had gone to see everything that interested her at his cinema. Even when some of her college friends insisted on going to the bigger one out at the retail park, there's bowling there too, she took her business to his. And thank God she did, because it was there she had overheard he went to this speed dating event. She also thanked God when she saw he had returned tonight. Who knew? Maybe he had been successful in the past and didn't need to come back. But there he was, only one table, pair of chairs, away now, with his short, slightly greying hair, he was so mature, a muted blue hoodie that brought out his eyes, they were so wise, and a kind smile that seemed to say to the woman sat with him at the moment, "I'm really pleased to meet you, but you aren't going to compare to Dasha." She hoped beyond hope. Ding, 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 ding! Ladies, it's that time again! Dasha's stomach filled with lead. She was sitting opposite Mark, Cinema Mark, with his smile, with his hoodie. His mouth was moving, and now not. Oh my God, she thought. He just asked me a question. All I heard was humming. White noise. My brain is fizzing. I think I'm going to be sick. She slammed the door of the hall's little kitchenette behind her, but to little effect. The frosted glass windows of the serving hatch still stood open, framing a sea of eyes looking at her. Even in her panic, she had the foresight to slide them together gently enough such that they didn't smash against each other. "Let's give her a minute, everyone," Dasha could hear Sue commanding on the other side of the glass. "It's a lot to take in for first-timers. Just carry on, nothing to see, all right?" Dasha felt so much for Sue in that moment. She slid down a cupboard door, hands firmly over ears, eyes squeezed shut. The tears still found their way out, though, and so many. She felt such an idiot. What on earth was she doing here? What the hell would Mark see in a little girl like her? She pressed harder into the sides of her head and squinted until her cheek muscles ached. Her heartbeat. She could hear her heartbeat, and it was slowing down. She could hear her breathing too, but that was it. Her heart and her lungs working in unison, as they always had. The bright light swimming in front of her eyes shifted from angry whites and reds to softer greens and blues. They were less like knives stabbing and slashing, and more like water flowing and washing. Her breathing slowed even more, and she was fascinated by listening to herself. She never listened to herself anymore. She used to. She used to listen to her heart in the pillow each night, and paid great attention to every scratch and fleck of dirt on each knee. But she had lost touch with herself, she realised, and she had been there all the time. She released her hands. There was a sharp peak, a wah of sound rushing into her ears. It made her smile, so she did it again, a few times. She was playing her head like an instrument. She wiggled her toes and fingers. They were so warm and welcoming. She put her hands on her face, but because she wanted to share the warmth around this time, not out of embarrassment or shame. She began to feel so comfortable with herself. She opened her eyes, too. The harsh white from the strip light hurt a little at first, but was refreshing. She pulled herself up from the floor and turned to lean on the work surface. She closed her eyes again, trying to filter out the murmuring from the hall. She took a deep breath and listened to its soothing hissing and humming from within. She smiled to herself and about herself. She opened the kitchenette door and found people were surprisingly uninterested in her, including Mark, who was now talking to a brown-haired woman in a buttoned-up blazer. She went and joined the one man who was left without a companion. He was nice enough. He complimented her brooch. At the end of the evening, she hung around by the door for Mark. She apologised for being such a weirdo, and he said he was glad that she'd stayed.